Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I hope everyone have a nice day today. So as of today, we would like to present on principal component analysis on a project entitled Factor Affecting Absenteeism at Workplace. For your information, our group consists of 4 members. Firstly, we have Siti Syafiqah binti Meli. Second, AMIRAH AFIFAH binti MOHAMAD FALIL. Third, SABRINA binti MOHAMAD Noor. And lastly, we have NOORAZHAR binti NOORAZHAR. We move to introduction of this project. Absenteeism is a very common problem in any industrial units, small or big, private or government undertaking. The high rate of absenteeism is occurring due to lack of commitment to work. Further, there are many classifications of absenteeism as defined as necessary or unnecessary absenteeism. The employee absenteeism is well known and consists of direct and indirect effect. It may increase on higher costs and lose productivity because of absenteeism, which can be due to both directly as indirectly. Further effects connected with absenteeism are interruption of workflow and decline in product quality. As a result of absenteeism, work delays and productivity decline are often the first sign of something wrong in the workplace and which may precede events such as incidents and injury. We move to problem statement. Absenteeism is an employee's intentional or habitual absence from work. While employers expect workers to miss a certain number of work days each year, excessive absence can adequate to decrease productivity and can have a major effect on company finances, moral or other factors. Unexpected absenteeism will cause a business to worse financial loss. This financial loss is due primarily to decreased productivity resulting in lost revenue and the cost to hire temporary staff, while also negatively impacting other team members who have to cover the burden of increased workload. This can quickly lead to an expensive cycle of absenteeism that should be addressed as soon as possible to avoid further costs to the business. The factor of absenteeism at work should be taken seriously by the employers, since these are considered as a serious issue in an organization. Sometimes, the employees had difficulties which cannot be avoided, and the employers need to come out with a solution if it involves factor that the organization could change or help. But before employer tackle absenteeism, it is important to understand what causes it in the first place, which is why this research is done. We continue with research questions. First, we want to know how many numbers of components of factors affecting absenteeism at workplace. Second, we want to know, did the disciplinary failure affect absenteeism at workplace? And lastly, did the day of the week affect absenteeism at workplace? To satisfy our research question, we proceed with research objective. First, to reduce numbers of component of factors affecting absenteeism at workplace. Second, to find out whether disciplinary failure affect absenteeism at workplace. To investigate whether the day of the week affect absenteeism at workplace.
In the chapter of literature review, we discussed the findings from the previous study to explain deeper on the topic of absenteeism at work. It also explicates the definitions, factors influencing the absenteeism at work, and the method used to analyze the data. From the Oxford Dictionary, absenteeism is defined as the practice of regularly staying away from the work or school without good reason. Through the study done by Swarnalata and Suraskrishna 2012, the term absenteeism is simply defined as failure to report to work, and this kind of behavior is a threat to an organization. Badubi 2017 has mentioned in his study there are several factors influence the absenteeism of employee at workplace. It could be a rebellious sign of the employee's dissatisfaction towards their job at work. This kind of act will hinder the performance of one's work, which result in catastrophic at workplace and affect the other workers. According to Bungum White, Jackson and Moore 2003, the high body mass index (BMI) of one influenced their absence at work, and the encouraging the employer to insist employees' effort in decreasing the above normal BMI. Age and gender also contribute in absenteeism at work. It is explained that a female gender tends to absent more than male as the latter didn't have more episodes of sickness, while as people age, one gets more disease and illness. According to Mishra, Sarkar, Taraftar, Data, Swain, Sakum, and Lasham, 2017, Principal Component Analysis (PCA) is a multivariate technique analyzes the data table in which observations are known by several intercorrelated quantitative dependent variables. The study done by Akazi, 2013, shows the use of principal component analysis is to simplify data by reducing the number of variables. As the research used multiple variables and it became complicated to analyze the data, therefore, the use of PCA made it easier to describe the data in terms of statistical analysis. Then, the study from Akazi 2013 distinguished basic steps necessarily to conduct the PCA method, which first introduced by Kendall 1957, Seal 1964, and many others. The stages mentioned as follows. Choices of variables to be included in the analysis, construction of the basic data matrix, transformation of the basic data if required, and then calculation of the dispersion or correlation matrix, calculation of eigenvalues and eigenvectors of dispersion or correlation matrix, examination and interpretation of the eigenvalues, interpretation of the eigenvectors, calculation of the transform values, and the last one is plotting or further analysis of the transform values.
Thank you, Sabrina. I am AMIRAH AFIFAH. Now I will continue to methodology. There are several steps in order to perform principal component analysis. First is data collection. The data we use is absenteeism data that we extracted from Kaggle.com. The dataset consists of 8 variables. The variables include 5 working days, service time in hours, and many more. There are 741 samples involved in this study. The second step is data pre-processing. This step used to standardize the absenteeism data. Standardization is advisable to put all the function space with a mean equal to 0 and variance equal to 1. The third step is method assumptions. This step is to ensure that the data can be accurately interpreted. There are several assumptions in this principal component analysis method. First assumption is the data need to have several variables to be evaluated at continuous level. Second, all variables should be linear relationship. Third, large sample size are needed for PCA to deliver a reliable test. Fourth, data would be configured to data reduction. Fifth, no significant outliers. Next step is initial extraction of components. By using PCA, we can reduce the dimensionality through feature extraction method. From this method, we will know the eigenvalues and know how much information that each principal component contains. To determine the number of components, there are 3 common criteria of component selection. These include eigenvalue 1 criterion, amount of explained variance, and script plot. Next, we proceed to result and analysis. The pie chart shows only 5.41% of the employees that absent have disciplinary failure before. Therefore, we can conclude that disciplinary failure not giving the effect on absenteeism problem of the employees. From the bar chart, we can see that there are not much difference of absenteeism at workplace from Monday to Friday. However, the least absenteeism cases are on Thursday with 125 cases, while the highest number of absenteeism cases is on Monday.
Before we start analyzing the data of absenteeism at work, we need to make sure that the principal component analysis is suitable to be applied on the data through the topic of data assumption. First, we need to make sure the dependent variable of the data are correlated with each other, and the sample size of the observation of absenteeism at work is adequate enough to be analyzed using principal component analysis. By using the Kaiser-Meyer Olkin KMO measure, it will determine the sampling adequacy of the observation for the absenteeism at work. The output result from aspects above shows the KMO absenteeism at work is 0.539, which indicates the principal component analysis is appropriate to be applied on the observation, since the value of KMO in the output is greater than 0.5. Through the Bartlett test, we can identify either the observation used in the study is an identity matrix or otherwise. The hypothesis is done on the observation using the Bartlett test. From the result, we can see that the p-value is equal to 0.00, which is less than the value of alpha equal to 0.05. Therefore, there is enough evidence to show that the correlation matrix of variables in absenteeism at work is not an identity matrix, which means the variables are correlated with each other. In conclusion, the hypothesis above shows the PCA is suitable to be applied on the data of absenteeism at work.
Thank you for previous presenter. I am the next presenter and my name is NOORAZHAR binti NOORAZHAR. I will cover principal component analysis result. This is a table of estimated commonalities. The results suggest that the best factor in explaining variation is distance from residence to work, number of students and age, since the factors have more than 80% value of commonalities. Next is the table of total variance explained. Only the first three components have the eigenvalues over 1, and the cumulative percentage is 78.41% of the total variability in the absenteeism data, which is more than 17%. Next table shows which factor is the most influent in each component. For component 1, we can see that service time, which indicates 0.79 values. Component 2 is transportation expense with value of correlation 0.47, and lastly for principal component 3 is distance from residence to work with values negative 0.67. From the script plot, we can see that from component 1 to 2, it dominates most of the graph, while from 2 to 3 also have significant difference, same with 3 to 4. This means that the first three components are adequate to explain absenteeism at workplace. Conclusion, the 6 absenteeism variables have been reduced to 3 components, which are component 1, transportation expense, component 2 can be called as distance from residence to work, while component 3 service time. Next, the pie chart that will be explained in 4.1 shows the disciplinary failure that affects absenteeism in the workplace. Thus, the disciplinary failure on the employees does not affect their absence from work. Last but not least, the bar chart shows that there are not much different of employee absence at workplace from Monday to Friday. Hence, the day of the week does not influence employee absenteeism. Recommendation: it is recommended to use different multivariate statistical method since it has many methods that is appropriately used to include all statistics where there are more than 2 variables simultaneously analyzed. Other than that, we shall consider other variables that might affect the absenteeism of employee for any future study.
And that's all from us. Thank you for spending your time with us.